What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another Tottenham update for you guys. I am joined by Stell from Tottenham Away, and we're going to be going through the last 24 hours of news with Tottenham, surrounding Tottenham Hotspur. Before we start, go check out the website on screen right now, WATTV.co.uk for all the latest blog posts and also some merch and t-shirts. Go check out on our website if you still can't get enough of your Tottenham fix from our Spurs news. But without further ado, let's get into the video. And the first story we're going to be talking about today is Hojbjerg. And according to Sky Sports Italy, Juventus are exploring a loan deal plus a purchase option for Hojbjerg in January. Tottenham, however, may prefer an obligation to buy. The asking price remains steady at 30 million euros. Obviously, Hojbjerg is a player who very nearly went to Fulham and Atletico Madrid in the summer without anything really happening. He's been part of the squad and had a fairly decent start to the season in terms of little cameos he's been making, seeing out results. At 30 million euros, is that a price you're happy to see the back of Hojbjerg for? Are you actually liking the contribution he's making at the moment?
Yes, in my personal opinion, Hojbjerg is I like him as a player. I think he's got good leadership skills. He gives you everything he's got. He rarely gets injured, which is a brilliant quality to have. But I think if we go back to the previous chat we had earlier on, we were talking about the new Tottenham philosophy and the way it's going. Players must fit the system. Does he fit the style and the way Spurs play under Ange? For me, it's probably a no. I don't think he's that type of player. So if we do sell him, I'll be gutted because I like Hojbjerg, but I think it is a positive move in the sense of he's not someone that I believe fits the way we play now. However, if we sell him and we don't have a replacement, then that's a big problem, Sim, because we're losing a couple of players to African nations. We're losing a striker to Asia Cup. Who's filling in these gaps? Okay, great. Bentancur's coming back. Hopefully he'll be match ready and his fitness levels will be good enough. But we're still going to be left short. Don't forget the FA Cup's in January as well. We might have to rotate a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, sell Hojbjerg, I can be okay with that, but there's got to be a replacement. Yeah,
it's a good point because obviously the African Cup of Nations is January, so Basuma and Saul were missing for that month. Obviously, Son is also missing, but that's not really related to the midfield. But that leaves us with Ollie Skip. Obviously, Madison's still there, and then Bentancur, but Hojbjerg will probably would have seen minutes. He'd would have stayed. So definitely, maybe it's something that might happen at the end of January as opposed to maybe near the beginning. But as well, another problem as well, a lot of clubs around Europe don't seem to have that much money at the moment, and 30 million euros maybe in the Premier League might not sound like a lot, but we saw the struggles Atletico Madrid had getting that kind of money together, and no one else seemed interested in paying that kind of money. So do you think if we are going to sell him abroad, we'll have to lower that price, or do you think it's kind of like that's our price, and if you can't match it, then we'll just keep him?
Am I right in saying we paid £3 million for Hojbjerg plus we gave them Kyle Walker-Peters?
Essentially, yeah.
So, all right, let's say with Kyle Walker-Peters included, Hojbjerg cost us roughly maximum 15 million. Why are we demanding 30 million euros? Why are we asking for that? If you can sell him for 20 million euros, we've made a profit on the player that we purchased.
Considering in January he'll have 18 months left on his contract as well, so I don't know how much you can get for him maybe in a year's time.
It's going to be one of those where we can't be doing this haggling on price, which always has a historically it's hindered us. I'm with you. If someone offers less, but it's above what we've paid for with a bit of profit, I don't see why we should be delaying.
Especially if we can go get a replacement for a fairly similar price, which, you know, is more suited to the squad. I'll be more than happy with that. But look, to be fair to Hojbjerg, I don't want to shit on him because I think at the beginning of the season, I'm liking the contribution he's coming on the end of games and seeing out results. He's bringing that bit of calmness and experience, which I do like. But whenever he started, he hasn't really done well. Next story comes from Spain, and this is from a publication. This is from Fernando Polo, who's a Spanish journalist, and he's talking about Giovanni Lo Celso, and he says Lo Celso does not want to leave Tottenham in January. He wants to stay at the club and prove himself and succeed at Tottenham. Now, Lo Celso's start to the season has been very frustrating. Had one start against Fulham in the Carabao Cup, which he got taken off after 45 minutes causing an injury. Again, these injuries have reared their ugly head with Lo Celso. He picked up the injury before the international break. We were told it was a minor injury and he'd be back after the international break. The international break's come and gone. He still remains out injured. as Ange Postecoglou said pre-Sheffield United game that he's back in training and should be fit for that game. He then said he's out and it was also remained out for the Arsenal game. Hopefully he'll be back maybe for this weekend, but we'll have to wait for Ange says. Now, he had a great pre-season when he was given the opportunity. Everyone was very happy with him. But where do you stand on Lo Celso? Is it a case of if this guy just can't stay fit, then it's never going to work at this club? Or do you think, you know, what you saw from pre-season, he's been a bit unlucky at the start of the season with injuries and you do want to give him another opportunity?
So I've always liked Lo Celso. I've always defended him as a player, even when a lot of people criticise him, said he's rubbish, waste of money. I've always said, no, there's a good player, but he's one of these players that he has to play in a system that works to what he's about. And I would say, I would argue the same for Basuma. He's a player that needs to play in a system that works to the way he is as a player. So I would like him to stay. And I think actually he's not a replacement for Madison, but at least he's someone that can play that role if Madison's injured or suspended, that can do a job. And pre-season, he was very good. And everyone was waxing lyrical about him. Oh, Ange is amazing. Look how he's turned around Lo Celso. I'm happy for us to keep Lo Celso. The only thing is, and it's what you've basically covered, if he's going to constantly be injury prone, you can't keep him. You can't. And I would apply the same to Sessegnon. Players that have been at the club for 4 years, both of them have hardly played for us, partly because of, let's say, style, philosophy, managers, but they've both been so injury prone. It's unbelievable. There's only so much you can care for, the well-being, look after, do your best for the player. We're also a football club that wants to hopefully win trophies. If you're injured, you can't contribute. So I think this has to be his last chance this season. Whether it's injury or performance, something has to give with him this season. But
I like, if this report is to believe, I do like that mentality that he does want to stay and prove himself and show that he has a lot to give at Tottenham, because there was a lot of rumours going on in the summer that he wanted out, he didn't want to be at the club anymore. And if maybe he's seen what Ange is doing, maybe he's seen what Tottenham is doing and think, look, that could fit really to a T and I can really thrive in this kind of formation. So I'm liking that he's maybe potentially looked at that and thinks, I want to be part of this squad, even if it means I have to wait for my opportunities. When I get my chance, I want to prove myself. So I do like that. But as we've said, like, the injuries have been a big problem. Let's hope he can stay fit. I'm a big believer in his quality, and I really think he could be a good alternative to Madison, or even potentially next to Madison on occasion. Maybe when we're facing teams who've got a low block or who we really have to turn up the heat on. Like, for example, when we played Sheffield United, we saw Kulusevski next to Madison, didn't we, later in the game?
Yeah.
And we went to a back three. Like, I would like to see Lo Celso in those kind of situations as well. So I do think he provides a bit more quality in that middle that maybe we don't have without him. But these injuries just don't seem to be going away. And it's also a thing where he always seems to be out. It always seems to be nothing serious, but then he's out for a month all of a sudden with nothing serious all the time. And that is just a big issue that we have to get past somehow. But hopefully he'll be back next game and he'll be back on the bench and we can see what he's about. But it could be promising.
Can I ask you a question on Lo Celso? Do you think Ange wants him?
I do, because I think that Ange would rather him as an option right now than not have that kind of quality to come off the bench at least, or as an alternative to Madison. And I think we saw in pre-season, I reckon that Ange had to make a decision whether he wanted one of Ndombele or Lo Celso, or either of them, essentially. And I think what Lo Celso was showing in pre-season, I think he made the decision, look, he's going to be part of my team and I want to have him as an option. So I do think he wants him, but it's about what's best for the club. Are we better just getting rid of him and then signing maybe a younger player who's going to be more reliable in terms of availability? Maybe that's probably, maybe he's just going to give it a year kind of thing. But I do think he wants him, yeah.
I'm asking because pre-season, it was almost like we had an A team and a B team, and the B team was out doing the A team. And, well, the B team got a chance against Fulham in the Carabao Cup, and it was a disaster. So I'm in two minds as to whether or not the second string was actually just, for whatever reason, doing really well pre-season. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts of real competitive football, are they really capable? And Lo Celso was part of that. So because we haven't seen him in the Premier League this season, I don't know. I like him as a player, like I've said to you, But I don't know how Ange feels. I don't know what he thinks.
But it's been hard because he's been injured, especially since the Fulham game. So he just hasn't had that opportunity to even come off the bench. And that's the frustrating thing. But let's see, I guess, the next few weeks, hopefully he's back fit and he can start to get more involved. On to some injury news now. On Ali Gold reporting that Madison has been playing through various knocks in recent weeks and has been kept a close eye on this week out on the grass on Hotspur Way. And Tom Allnutt from the Times says Tottenham are optimistic that James Madison's knee injury is not serious and that the midfielder will be fit to face Liverpool on Saturday. So a lot of optimistic reports that the Madison injury isn't anything serious and he should be fit to face Liverpool. For you, after that injury, after what happened against Arsenal, you saw that bad tackle from Jorginho, and he kind of hobbled for it. Was down for a long time actually against Arsenal, wasn't he? Obviously, he did come back on and ended up playing another 5 minutes. But for you, if there's any sort of pain or niggle at all, do you just not risk it, or do you think he's that important that we just have to have him on the pitch if he's available?
So I've been speaking to a lot of Australian fans who now follow Tottenham, as I'm sure you've found on your channel. And when I speak to them, a lot of them say that Ange really cares about the well-being of the players. And if he feels there's an injury coming, or if he feels the player's been overstretched, overpushed, and they're carrying a niggle or a knock, he'll pull them off. So Ange will do the right thing by the player to protect him for the longevity of the season. For me, I don't think we've got a choice because, well, we do have a choice. You've always got a choice, but I'm more worried about Liverpool than Arsenal, by the way. Mm-hmm. I think Liverpool are better this season, and I'm concerned about the Liverpool game. For sure, we're going to give him a game, but we need Madison. He has to play. We've got no replacement as it stands for what he offers us. He's been arguably either our best or second best player this season. So he's got to be fit. Otherwise, what do we do with that? And it's the only kind of criticism I've got of the club, because I'm so optimistic at the moment. I'm really positive about everything that we're doing. We are short in certain departments, and this is one. So we've got to hope he's fit. Otherwise, there really is no creative plan B. Yeah,
but it sounds like the news is they are optimistic he will be fit. And to be fair, every week it seems to be a scare, doesn't it, with Madison? Because just before the Bournemouth game, he had that injury and leading up to it, and he ended the game before that on crutches, didn't he? And there was a lot of rumours whether he'd be fit to face Bournemouth. He ended up just about being fit, and he ended up scoring on that game as well. So he does seem to be picking up a few niggles, but I think, look, he's such an important player, especially in that leadership role that he now is, that he's involved in. I think he maybe takes that responsibility with himself to be as available as possible. And let's just hope that this knee injury, he isn't at risk this weekend. If he isn't, I think he has to play.
But what we don't want is a situation where we had Heung-min Son last season who needed a hernia operation playing through it because he would put the team first. We don't want that with Madison, and then he's out for 6 months. Because for us, if we were to lose Madison and Bentancur at the same time, I mean, it's not just bad news, it's just really bad luck. So I think we've got to be careful with Madison until Bentancur comes back and there's a bit of rotation maybe available. I do think we need to protect him as well, Sim.
I completely agree. Next story, also Ali Gold talking about some more injury news. Brennan Johnson, he says, on Brennan Johnson's potential injury, it was only a tight hamstring rather than a more serious issue. Johnson did not want to worsen the problem at the moment, which is why he came off. He has been training on grass following treatment this week. So another positive update. Sounds like Brennan Johnson, again, could be fit to face Liverpool. When it comes to hamstring injuries, obviously when it's a pulled hamstring, usually 2 weeks. If it's a tear, it could be 3 months. It seems as though it was a tight hamstring. Is that, I don't know what your experience is with injuries, but is that usually something that can clear up within a week?
Why are all the good players being injured?
Yeah, I know, it's a bit frustrating.
Why is Eric Dyer always fit?
He's constantly available.
Look, with a hamstring, if it's tight, you've got to stretch more than the others before the match. You've got to do more stretching. If he plays and he feels it tightening up, you've got to pull him off because it's
straight away.
It's going to go. A hamstring is something that gives you, the beautiful thing about a hamstring is it normally gives you a warning sign. It gives you a warning something isn't right. So if you're feeling the warning, don't play. And that's the truth, because it will pop.
But would you say if his hamstring is tight at all going into it, he has to miss the game? Or would you say that's something that it was tight in the game against Arsenal, he did the right thing, he immediately just stopped playing and went down? Like, is that something that for you could be recoverable in a week's time?
It's recoverable, but you don't know if it's fully recoverable until you play. Because if it tightens up whilst you're playing, that means it hasn't fully recovered. You could do lots of stretching this week, some physiotherapy, some light training, a bit of heavy training. You think, okay, actually this feels okay. Then you go into a competitive game where you're stretching that extra inch, you're pushing yourself that extra mile because it's, elite level sport, and then you feel it tighten up. Well, that means actually you were 95% okay, not 100% okay. And if that happens, he has to come off.
On that basis, would you, let's say the plan is to start him if he's fully fit, would you start him knowing that last week he had a tight hamstring? Or would you say, look, let's just give it a week, have you on the bench in case we need you, and then next week we'll be more comfortable having you from the start? Bench. You think just bench?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Next story is on Bryan Gil and Ali Gol. This is more injury news. Bryan Gil is expected to be available for selection imminently after stepping up his recovery and beginning his reintegration back into the first team. And that's really encouraging news, especially given the fact that Perisic has been ruled out for the season. We're looking a bit maybe light on numbers when it comes to the wide areas. But Bryan Gil, he's been a player who's had a couple of loan spells, hasn't really been fancied by many managers who've been in charge. But for you, under Ange, if he's available, do you reckon he could be a good option for us?
So I'm on the fence with Bryan Gil. He shows moments of really good technical ability and decision making, and then he shows moments of absolute, not calamity, but oh, come on, man. Like, how are you just being pushed over like that? The interesting thing is, when I was at Spurs on Tuesday, they spoke about physicality and the importance of physicality. And there's different types of physicality. You've got the Van de Ven physicality, tall, strong, powerful, stocky build. You've got the Solomon physicality, which is an electric burst of pace. So he's powerful in running. Then you've got the Madison physicality, which is agile, nimble, beats a man, the almost ballerina type physicality. If I was to ask you what's Bryan Gil's physicality, what would you say it is? Because that I
feel like sure. He's more of a low center of gravity. Look, obviously not the strongest, but he won't let you get near him. He'll get around you without allowing you to touch him, kind of player. Like a bit like Madison isn't the strongest, but he can wriggle away from players because of just his ability to be flexible and his dribbling ability.
That agility is a physical attribute.
Yeah.
So if we break down physical attributes into strength, pace, being nimble. I don't know if Bryan Gil fits in one of those categories.
I would say nimble.
Has he shown it consistently though enough?
No, but has he ever had a chance to? Because I remember the last time we saw him was just before we loaned him out to Sevilla. And he was actually playing well under Conte. He played on the right. He filled in for a few games because we had injuries. Yeah. And he was looking quite good. And the first time I was like, okay, Hill's maybe starting to get to grips with the Premier League. And then we loaned him out right at the end of the window. So maybe, hopefully coming back. Ange, I really think as well, in Ange's system on either wing, he's quite a good one-on-one dribbler. And so maybe he could really be suited to that kind of role of being as wide as possible, taking on his man in one-on-one situations, being able to create chances. I'm hoping that's something that maybe that could suit him.
Well, look, when he played in Spain, he played in more possession-based teams. So our style would definitely suit him better because we scouted him playing in Spain, and that was more the philosophy they use. If it's going to work for him at Spurs, it's going to work under Ange because the harmony, the togetherness, the spirit, the mindset is all in the right place for a player to develop. Last season, a lot of fans were saying, play the youngsters, we're falling apart, give the youngsters a chance. So I said, no, I don't want to see any youngsters near this toxic environment because to develop, the environment has to be right. And that's any coaching course you go on, they teach you about the environment. The environment now is brilliant. So if Bryan Gil is to excel, if he can't do it in this environment, he won't do it anywhere else in any team at Spurs. So yeah, let's give him a go.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Next up, we've got Mickey van der Ven quotes. He's been talking to a few places. He's talking to Spurs TV. I was talking to, I think, the Premier League as well. And here are some quotes about his ambitions about being in the Premier League. He said, "It's my ambition to be one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. I'll work hard for it to make it happen, but I just started, so hopefully I can be there. I don't know how many years. We're going to play our own way like we want to. We don't fear Liverpool." So talking about the the upcoming game against Liverpool. And also talking about his bond with Cuti Romero, he says, when I came to Tottenham, he was really nice to me. He showed me, he showed me, here is the kitchen, here's you can get this, here's you can get that. So he was sitting with me and talking to me a bit. I think I make him maybe more calm, and he makes me more aggressive. He will always be a more aggressive player, and I'm more of a calm player, but it fits each other really well. Cuti is just an amazing player, and I know when I run in one direction, he's in my back because he's always there, I think, backing me up. He's saying we just feel each other, and of course it is amazing when you have this as a centre-back duo. I think, interesting him talking about his partnership with Romero. They do seem to be a very good yin to their yang, like very good counterbalancing each other, and it's great to hear from him how he gets on with Romero. And I think maybe as well that Romero's really taken that leadership responsibility of like welcoming him to the club and basically just showing him around the place. And it seems that they're getting on really well, and that's so important when developing a good partnership, you getting on with your partner and understanding each other.
So 3 things. First of all, we all thought that Romero needed a senior figure, someone to guide him and lead him. Well, turns out, no. He needed someone to nurture and be his apprentice, and that's brought the best out of him. Who would have thought that? Secondly, I think that Mickey van de Ven, this is the Vertonghen replacement. He reminds us of Vertonghen. He has similar attributes to Vertonghen. He's a lot younger. He's got a huge learning curve ahead of him. I think this is our Jan Vertonghen replacement, and I'm going to make a bold claim. So he's going to score an own goal now that I'm going to do this, because that's what happens when you make a claim. It backfires. Sim, I actually think Van de Ven is better than Romero.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Wow, it's a bold claim. Yeah. It's definitely a bold claim.
Which is why he's going to score an own goal against Liverpool.
Look, Romero and Van de Ven have taken turns scoring own goals so far this season.
He has scored already.
But it's funny, like even though, like on the face of it, you can say, oh, they've both scored own goals and Romero gave away a penalty, but no one's really talking about that because we can see how well they're playing together at the moment.
I just feel with Romero, I love the way he always looks for a positive forward pass, even when fans are screaming, clear it, get rid of it, hurry up. He's calm and he finds that pass. I love his aggression. I even like a little bit of his shithousery, gets into the minds of players. But I just find with Mickey van de Ven, his tackling, his pace, his calmness, I just... When I watch Van de Ven, I don't panic. When I watch Romero, at the back of my head, I've always got that little niggling doubt. Please, Romero, don't do a Romero. And I just think that I think they're both really good centre backs, by the way. But I do feel that the maturity for his age, I think he's better than Romero. What's interesting, what he said in those quotes, he said, I think Romero makes me more aggressive. But what interesting thing I found when he says, I think I make Romero calmer, which is very interesting when he says that, because Romero has had, I think, one or two fouls this season and 1 yellow card compared to maybe last season. And do you think maybe we're seeing that on the pitch? No, Van de Ven he's obviously you want to keep that aggressive side to Romero, but if you can have a bit more of a controlled aggression, like maybe we're seeing, maybe Van de Ven has had a really big influence on Romero in that fact. If you're a centre back, would you be calm playing next to Eric Dyer every week? Probably not. So maybe the fact that he's got qualities is one of the reasons Romero is calmer as well, because he can trust passing the ball to him. He can trust that he's going to read the game the way he reads the game. It's funny what happens when you put good players next to each other, isn't it? They can make each other better. I think that's what's calmed Romero. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That is all for today's Tottenham update. Thank you all for joining us today. If you want to see more Estelle, go check out Tottenham Away. Link will be in the description below and in the title. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs. Come on you Spurs.